Hey there, kiddos, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank, and that you are having a great day. And in today's video, I'm sitting back in a non-squeaky chair in this bulky corner of the garage so that I can relax and have a little conversation with all of you guys about one of the worst things that could possibly happen to you as a card store owner. And no, I'm not talking about the entire TCG market collapsing. I'm not talking about Pokemon going to zero or anything like that. I'm talking about a much more tangible and serious threat to your business, and that is theft. While I was talking to a buddy of mine, another card store owner, earlier today, he had mentioned the topic during our conversation, and I figured, you know what? Yeah, I suppose I should talk about card store theft because theft, robberies, etc., really are a big deal. It's a serious issue that could do a lot of damage uh, to your business and could actually end your career if enough is stolen all in one go. Because, look, lately, especially with the current TCG market as it is, physical brick and mortar locations are prime targets for theft and robbery because there's just so much money literally left on the table there in some cases. So some of the more blatant thieves will get out there and they'll go and yoink up some high-end items and just flip them on the secondary market or wherever to, you know, make good with the goods, so to speak. And there's been a bunch of high-end and very noteworthy robberies lately, especially just in the last few months. I mean, I think it was called Nash cards, $9,000 in, I think, boxes were stolen. Man just ran in the store, grabbed some stuff, and ran out. That was in Pennsylvania. There was the Card Lab theft in California for 15,000. And I think just a few days before then in New Jersey, there was another like really high end $40,000 to $50,000 robbery for big pack hobby shop, something like that. I forget the name. You guys will tell that I'm the most tuned in person ever. Some of these robberies, and there's plenty more. If you check the news, there's always some new robbery or new theft at a card store these days, it seems. Some of these robberies that are being committed are happening in broad daylight with very little time spent in the robbery itself. Some people will just run into the store, grab what they know is valuable, and run out. Not even a break-in occurs for some cases. Yes, definitely break-ins do occur. People will smash windows, run in, grab their stuff, and run out. But robberies, it feels like, are getting more brazen and more expeditious as people just grab the good stuff and run out. And part of this is just because they know what they're looking for. In the world of TCGs, it's very easy to spot what is and isn't valuable. If it's older, sealed product, there's a very decent chance that if you see like an XY logo on a box, it's probably worth something. So if you're a thief and you don't know jack water about anything in the Pokemon world, you just know that Pokemon equals money, and you remember that XY came out years ago, you'll go into a store, see an XY box, and go, that's something, thank you, and just run out. It's totally easy. Very lot of trucks in by right now. That way. So yeah, I think it's something like a robbery happens every 3 minutes in the U.S., which is crazy to think about. It's one of those weird crime statistics that you never really think about, but when someone tells you, you're just like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. And naturally, as if there's one every 3 minutes, there's a very decent chance that every day, in fact, there might be a card store robbery happening somewhere in the States. And with good reason. Like I said, there's a lot of crazy stuff that is worth a lot of money in this business, in this industry. And like I said previously, you can be left belly up if enough of the right stuff is taken by a thief. Especially if you're a smaller store, you have one employee to your name, or you have no employees, you have people helping you out. Let's say that you have $20,000 in inventory right now. You just started, you have a very small inventory pool, you've got some singles and some sealed product, and maybe like, I don't know, 6 cases of various TCGs lying around. If a lot of your money is pulled up in Lorcana or One Piece or Pokemon, and someone comes in and grabs enough boxes of that stuff, you might be in a position where you won't be able to pay off the bills because enough of your product was stolen. And make no mistake, there's only so much that locked gates and doors and safes and security cameras, there's only so much that stuff can do to help you out. Even insurance for your business will only do so much. It'll only take you so far towards covering the damage and the loss of a robbery. Now, that's not to say that there's nothing you can do. Obviously, there's many steps you can take as a business, and I can say from experience, I've experienced, I think, 2 robberies. One attempted, one actual, when I had my own physical location way back in the day. And there's a lot you can do to prevent a robbery before it happens. Obviously, just keep an alert is always the big one. Know what to look for in shifty behavior, basically, especially from someone you don't know. Someone new enters the store that you've never seen before in your life. Keep an eye on that guy. Pay attention. It's also just a good advice for business. Keep an eye on new customers, and also keep an eye on potential thieves. But there's also just smart things you can do well in advance of any potential robbery to prevent a robbery. The big one is not keeping all of your valuables in one place. And I don't just mean don't keep all your valuables in your store, because definitely don't do that. But even within the store, most brick and mortar locations will have multiple showcases, multiple display cases, either in a row or throughout the store for whatever reason. And I know that it's very tempting. I know that it's extremely tempting to have all of your high-end Pokemon cards and all your high-end Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! And One Piece and Star Wars, all of your high-end Flesh and Blood cards all in one spot, nice and shiny, so that if someone's looking to come in and spend a lot of money, they can go to one case and spend all their money there. However, just like it's a good idea to spread your good stuff out so people spend more time shopping in your store, it's also a good idea to spread your valuable stuff out so that thieves have to, in theory, take longer to scoop all the good stuff up, giving you more opportunities for the police to show up, for you to intervene in a potential theft if you are able to do so. And of course, to make it harder for thieves to grab all the good stuff and just run out in a few seconds, which does happen quite a bit often. And of course, there's the smart thing, take your multiple valuable cards, put them in multiple display cases, keep some hidden behind the counter that no one can ever see. The only way they would know that they're back there is if they get behind the counter and look around a bit. Never keep your entire inventory in the store. This is something that I really cannot stress enough. Never keep your entire inventory in one place. Spread it out, multiple locations, saves, garages, storage units. Keep it at home. Even here, and in a private or online only thing, I make it a point to never leave my entire inventory all in one spot. There's multiple different locations, and I'm a very small person. Like I'm very small, small fish. Yeah, like even for me, I would not ever dream of keeping everything in one spot. Not just for robberies, obviously, but there's also accidents. A car could come barreling through here. And some of these cars are really close to the pavement here on this road out here. So there's a very decent chance that a car could come through or a fire could spark and burn up the entire inventory. And not keeping everything in one spot is a great way to avoid losing everything in case of any accident, not just robbery. And of course, just be mindful. Like I said, be mindful. Robberies that you can prevent are robberies that will never occur. Robberies that you can see coming are robberies that can never occur. Lock doors, keep your safes locked, hide away all the valuable cards at the end of the day. Take an extra 5 minutes before closing to put anything over $100 in a safe, for instance, right? That's always smart. But there's other things you can always look out for when someone comes to your store. Someone visits multiple times in a week. They walk through the door. They peek around. They maybe walk through all the showcases and see what you've got lying around. Maybe they'll ask a question, or maybe they won't. They'll just take a look around, say hi. They'll see what you've got on display, and they'll look around at the stuff behind the counter. They'll take note of your employees, who's at the cash register, and stuff like that. They're looking around. They're scoping the place out. If someone does that repeatedly and then just leaves, well, that's a big red flag right there, isn't it? You know, someone comes in for the first time, they look kind of jittery, they're looking over their shoulder, they're keeping an eye on the door. You know, maybe two guys come in. One guy walks up to the display cases, looks around, and his buddy just sits at the door, like waiting for him. You know, that's kind of shady. People who wear their hoods up, especially in like summer, you know, they're wearing multiple layers. They have a hood up. They don't take their hood down when they come in. That's kind of shady. I'd be definitely keep an eye on that individual. And of course, always the big one, the one that like instant red flag is the kind of person who comes into your store and starts asking to see things that they clearly don't know what they are. If you have like boxes behind the counter or boxes in the display case, especially more expensive boxes, you know, again, with the XY, let's look at the XY set to talk about. XY Evolutions, a great set to talk about. Love that one. No one liked that set when it came out. And now it's Ongo Bongo money. Great stuff. You know, if someone comes into your store and they see a box of XY Evolutions in the display counter and they just point at it and they go, "Can I see that box?" And you're like, "Which box specifically?" And they just point at the XY box, like that one there. "Can I take a look at it? Can I see that?" I would never hand, first off, rule of thumb, nothing that can't be replaced by a crisp Benjamin is ever handed to a customer to look at. You can say, "Hey, that's such and such box. It's worth this much." But I would never let a customer, especially one I don't know and trust, you know, ever look at anything that couldn't be replaced by a good $100 bill, you know. It's just mindful stuff. But yeah, you know, there's other things too. You know, there's all kinds of tells, behavioral tells that people will say look out for when it comes to potential robberies and scoping out the place. But honestly, just being mindful, being attentive, and making sure you're locked up and that you're not letting too much potential inventory literally just walk out the door by your own inaction is always smart. So, you know, obviously you guys don't need to hear this, especially if you're already a store owner. You're going to know what to do, what to keep an eye out for, etc. But good rule of thumb, good smart thing to do is just be attentive. Don't be on your phone playing video games, I suppose is the thing I'm trying to say here when you're actively running a store. And when, you know, lights are out, you're all closed up, the only thing you can do is make sure you close up to the best of your ability. That's it. So that's all I got for you kiddos today. I hope you enjoyed. Please like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment down below if you have any anti-robbery tips. No, I will not suggest pulling out the Blicky 5000 for potential robbers. It's not my active suggestion, but let me know what you guys think in the description below. Like, share, subscribe, Discord, Patreon, TCG Player, all that jazz, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Ciao.